So my video the other day on the YouTube stuff, I do want to start doing some more like news of the day, topical type videos. But I also like to do videos like this where I talk about the more conceptual, conceptualizing something and trying to um, isolate it down to a specific idea. And the idea that I wanted to focus on today is, the accumulation of money or the accumulation of power. Now, if you understand time preference and how uh, most of our society is engineered around a higher time preference, essentially trying to prefer the present as opposed to deferring um, to the future. That's a lot of the behavior you'll see in modern era is people want to they want to defer. They don't want to defer their gratification. They don't want to defer their money. They don't want to defer anything. They just want to use everything, use all their power and resources in the now, and basically blow it later on. I watched a video recently talking about why term limits are bad, and it was surprisingly like they had a more left leaning on the perspective on it. Like they really just they were trying to come at it from like a left point of view of like, well, if we have all right wingers saving money and all of a sudden they'll get into power and then that'll be really bad, and they can just do this back and forth kind of thing, of gaining money and then being able to buy the seat essentially. Which is exactly why you don't need term limits. I could do a whole video on why term limits are bad, but I would need to actually script some of that out, and I just don't have the time to do that kind of stuff. So, we're just going to talk about accumulation of power and accumulation of money. So, especially now, accumulation of money is going to be very important because the more, especially invested, the more that you are going to invest during this time period where the market is essentially in a tailspin, the more that you're going to invest now, I think the more likely that you're going, and a lot of people are unable to invest at this current time. But I think the more that you are able to invest, like as much as you can, you're going to be much better off once the economy turns back around. So, this is kind of something that I've been working on in my own personal life, trying to accumulate money because I understand that money is a form of power. It is a component of power, at least. If you have the money, you can do a lot of the things that you need to do or that you really want to do. For instance, I do want to make a video game, but I cannot take on this all by myself. There are a lot of people who try and they don't really succeed. They don't have the marketing. They don't have the polish. Whatever it may be. There are great indie developers out there, but they don't ever really rise to a significant level until they either get bought out. Like if the say Notch sells Minecraft, like he made Minecraft on his own, but then the game didn't really become big until huge until Microsoft bought it. So there's there's a lot to be said about how to fast track your way to success, and money is definitely a good thing to have in order to fast track your success. And I think that it's a way to guarantee some things in life. You can't guarantee everything. You can guarantee some things, but let's get into why the accumulation of money and the accumulation of power, thereafter, is important. So if you accumulate the money, then you can accumulate some level of power. And if you do what I plan on doing, which is running for city council, if I accumulate some money and then I spend that money on a campaign, then I can get elected. And then if I choose, if there is a salary for, which I assume most council members get a salary in most cities, I'm going to assume that city council makes some money here. Um, if I then take that and I once I get that salary from being a city council member, assuming that I win, but I don't plan on losing, so um, just looking at it from that perspective of trying to go into this and accumulate some money so that then I can attain some level of power, or the accumulating money, like I want to build a gaming studio. So if I follow this process that I'm currently on, and the theory that I'm working with here, and the way that I'm trying to timeline this out, if I get elected to city council, then I save all of that money from basically take every single dime. Like I don't need all of that money that I would make if I become a city council member. So I'm going to take that salary and literally throw it into something to where I can uh, maybe throw it into somewhere where I can earn some money on it, but have it where it'll be strictly for my game development. So I'm gonna throw that money back somewhere, have that ready for game development, and hopefully be able to make a super polished game at some point. But that's how I have to do it. I can't, like, I'm not in the position to do this kind of stuff. Now there are other ways. I think that there's this sort of goes into a measure of success, right? There are people who are rich who just become successful, like if they are mommy and daddy's son or daughter. They can have some monicum of success. Um, like they can achieve some success just because they started out with money. But also, I do think there's a different component. There's a lot of people who also struggle. They go through hard struggles. Say something like a spiral rapper like Eminem, or whatever, or those kind of people, like, or a sports star. Like a lot of sports stars, they start out as that they're the parents of really poor. They have really poor parents, like money wise, and so they go into sport, and then after a while they're able to do really well, and then they can go to play like in the NBA, and then they can actually have money, power, and influence. Um, so there's a different path to take, and in my current path, I can't just, like, if I was younger, the perspective that I would take is a lot different than the now that I'm a little bit older. Now that I've got two kids, I've got a lot to think about here. I have to do some things, like I have to make sure that I pay bills. I have to do all this kind of stuff. Uh, stuff has to happen. Like I can't let this slack. So everything has to get paid for eventually. So the perspective that I have is much different from someone who would just be starting out. If I was still in college, or I was still, or if I had a lot of time, like if I was 18, I could do a lot different things. Especially if I was living with my parents, and I had all the time in the world, because time is also a component to this as well, of accumulation of power. And if I could have all the time in the world, I could do other things, like I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to make videos, but I really don't have the time necessarily to be making these videos. I'm just eking out a few minutes here and there where I feel like I can make a video, and trying to do that. But if I had all this time and I could accumulate power through my time, or through or through money, or accumulate a combination of both. Because if I took the time to do really well with this YouTube channel, and I actually looked into what's trending, what's this, what's that. If I was really trying to be on top of the algorithm, like keep on top of the YouTube game in my niche, then what I would do is I would keep in that niche. I would look for that stuff in the algorithm that I can deal with, that I can actually talk on, and I can make content on, or whatever. And then once I get enough subscribers, I get into the partner program. Maybe I start earning ad revenue. Maybe I make some money on that. Then I can start working on especially if I'm already started on the game, like some people, indie devs, They're like 18 years old and they're making their games, and then they make money off of showcasing how they're doing devlogs and they're making a game, and maybe they do some like skits and stuff, but they make videos and they make content, they make money, then they work on their game, and some of them continue doing it solo, which I think is actually really stupid on their part. I mean, I think they're just not knowledgeable about what path to take. Either that, or they just don't feel confident that someone else can follow their lead. I guess I don't know what it is, but accumulating this power, which then turns into money, which then turns into, like, if you have more subscribers, you can potentially make more money, which then you can potentially make more subscribers, which then you can potentially make more money, and you see the sort of snowball effect here. And this is essentially what I want to, this feedback loop. Like, there are feedback loops, whether positive or negative, and the accumulation of money and power are really positive feedback loops. The more power that you gain, the more it feeds back into you having money, which means you have more power, which means you have more money, which means you have more power, which means you have more money, which means you have more power. So this sort of feedback loop keeps going. Like, it keeps on going until there is an inevitable, like a threshold where you hit, and then all of a sudden you kind of plateau. There's a lot of people, you'll see this on YouTube, people who will get like 2 million subscribers and then they just stay at 2 million subscribers. So there is a plateau. Some plateaus are higher than others. Someone like PewDiePie, who's really done it all. He kind of has no plateau. Like, he's essentially at the top, regardless of what he's done. Like, he's made gaming videos, he's made other content, he's made skits, all this kind of stuff, and that's why he stayed on top, and that's why he became the top creator on YouTube, because he kept on trying to. He didn't stay with one niche, even though that was kind of his niche. He kept evolving for what new YouTube was. Now, modern day, he really doesn't care. He just makes whatever content he wants to make, and that's fine. But he's essentially earned his place at being the top. Now, you'll see Mr. Beast, who is an alternative person, who used money he spent a lot of money. He acted like he essentially he was doing this on credit cards. If you don't know how Mr. Beast has turned into the mega star he is today. Essentially, he's an 18-year-old like who got a bunch of mommy daddy's credit cards or whatever, and he says, okay, I'm gonna make a video, and then, or he may have got his own credit cards. I don't think he got extended this much credit though. But he's like, oh, I'm gonna make a video of me donating $3,000 to a Twitch streamer. So he gets mom and dad's credit card. He does that. He donates $3,000. He posts the video. It gets like 10,000 views. And all of a sudden, he's making money, and then 10,000 subs, 10,000 views, whatever, and then he just continues this feedback loop of like, okay, well, now I'm making money, and then I can spend the money that I'm making to do even bigger prizes. Okay, well, now I'm going to donate $10,000 to a Twitch streamer, and then that feedback loop. You see where I'm going with this? Like, this whole feedback loop, keeps going, and that's why he's able to do it. Is because he would give away money on credit, then he would make it back, basically pay that credit card off, then he would be able to go back in and then do another donation, big donation, and show that off or whatever. And then he was able to do a skit, spending a lot of money to say like, hey, here's your prize here. And eventually he just has enough money, and it doesn't matter at that point. And so these positive feedback loops are present throughout our society, regardless of how you look at it. But this is how you accumulate power, and this is how you accumulate money. You either need to go after your target. Some people go after the power first without having the money, and some people go after the money and then they accumulate power through having money. And I think that's the path that I'm going to have to take. I'm going to have to accumulate money and now it's going to be a lot slower for me because I don't have some big YouTube channel. I don't have I'm not like the most liked person in the world of like I don't just have people fawning over me, giving me money left and right, handing me money. I don't get mom and daddy's money. Nobody cares. Literally, no one cares that I exist. Essentially, so I'm gonna have to do this the slow way, and this is why I think that it's important to know this, and what I hope that my kids get out of this. I mean, if y'all watch this video, sons, like what I want y'all to know is that if you plan on doing this, I mean, I'm gonna give my kids money. I'm not stingy. I'm not a just like I'm not spiteful person. I'm not a hateful person. Contrary to how I may come off, like some people may think that I'm like a little bit of a bitter person or whatever, but I don't have that hateful like drive into me. I don't hate people that same way. Now I mean, now there's a guy down the road who drives a car through here, and he just revs up his engine every time. I hate that, but I genuinely don't hate people most of the time. Like unless they're just a despicable person, I really don't hate people. But what I want to say, I'm getting off on a tangent. But what y'all need to know is if I give especially sons, if I give y'all money, the plan is to then use that money. Don't just spend it on something. You need to use it, spend it wisely, spend it on something that will get you more money. If that becomes something like you're wanting to do, like a YouTube channel like this, and you actually want to be successful at doing YouTube, I don't care. Like if you eventually want to do that, I don't care if you spend the money wisely on something and you have a cohesive plan for what you're trying to spend it on, and not just spending it on like hey, here's I bought a car. I mean, we may do that. Like we may have to spend some money to get you a car, but I don't plan on just like, hey, here is car money. That's not the plan. The money is not for to go like really go for a car. It's more about going for practical stuff that you'll actually like buying, building your own brand or building your own business in this way, trying to find something that you can do, you can spend the money on that will actually accumulate you more money as a result. And that's what I hope. Hopefully I lay that framework and I lay that groundwork correctly, that sort of feedback loop, especially if you can get it early on, the earlier you can get that feedback loop working, the faster and the easier that it is. Because as it is now, my feedback loop is going to be very long. It's going to be now I'm going to take a long time. I'll accumulate a decent amount of money, and then I can actually spend some, make some more money, and then we can get that feedback loop started. And it may take a long time for me, but for hopefully for you guys, anybody listening to this, go ahead and start that process now. Accumulate your money, save it, invest it, and then as you accumulate that money, then you can accumulate power, or whatever it may be, or if you can accumulate power in any way, like if you can make a YouTube channel that actually is successful, and you're younger and you have all that time in the world, then to do that, accumulate that, and then use that to make you money, which then makes gets you more power, and continue that cycle, continue these feedback loops, and as soon as you get into that feedback loop, you just win. Like that's the whole point. It's not, the success is getting into the feedback loop. Like people who are successful get in the feedback loop, and then they just continue that cycle. They just continue. Okay, well, I'm successful. I got power. I spend money. I get power, or I make money. I spend money. I get power. They just keep on that loop, and it keeps going forever and ever, and expands larger and larger. So that's what you need to be after. If you're trying to trying to have some sort of if you want a model for success in life, that's the whole point of it, is these positive feedback loops. And it helps whenever you can have someone to reinforce that kind of stuff. And hopefully I do a good job of it with my sons. But reinforcing that feedback loop is important, to try to say, hey, like, you're doing good, let's keep it up, we keep this going. And all this kind of keeps going back and forth, like a positive, these positive feedback loops just won't stop once they get going. So that's what I just wanted to talk about, that, like the accumulation of power and money and influence in that way. And how once you get into these loops, essentially you're locked in, and you can kind of you choose at that point. For me, I have to work really hard to get to the point to where I can actually achieve any sort of success like that. So it's going to take a lot longer for me. Um, so do with this information what you will. I hope it was informative in some way. Hopefully you got something out of it. And if you did, please hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel. And I also have links in the description for all the socials and everything else that if you want to check me out there. Post, I tweet all the time. So check all that out. And I hope y'all have a great day. And this is Trey from Trey's Think Tank, signing out.